Hi, this is Regina Favors with a new series, Don't Move Him In. This series is born out of two areas. One where I have actually written a blog article that you can find on my website, reginawhitefavors.com. And also, I have compiled that article as well as multiple articles into a book, Life Recovery After Romantic Hastiness. And you can find that title as well as my Overcoming Setback title, Overcoming Setback Workbook titles on my website, reginawhitefavors.com, as well as my online store, reginawhitefavorsauthor.com. So this discussion, I really want to get into because many times we think as women that we have the solution to an individual's problems, just in general, but also to men's problems. And it's certain types of men that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about men who are financially stable, who have always had their own apartment, who has an understanding of adulthood. I'm basically talking about men who have moved from their mother's house or parents' house to go live with a woman, or men who are just recently coming out of jail or prison and they are being paroled or on probation and they haven't come out to live something yet. These are also men who do not like rules. And so a lot of times men can be paroled or well, just paroled to say a halfway house or a sort of 18-month program, but they don't want to go to that program because there are rules that are associated with curfew, chores, um, participation in therapy, any other type of programming. So they skip. Not only did they skip the most important adult um, adult development process from leaving their parents' house, and they skip to go and live with the woman. They skip that whole process where you need to go get a job, stay on that job, keep a place, stay in that place, pay for that place yourself, for yourself, not someone giving you the money. Um, do that for at least a year so that you can measure your ability to take care of yourself as an adult, and then you continue to reassess where you are, and then continue to move forward and stay in a place. And I'm not talking about necessarily people who maybe got married at 18, 19 years old, and then they're living together as husband and wife. Even though I feel like even in that situation, you still haven't gotten out and lived anything. But at least when they come together at that age, both could maybe try to balance each other. I'm talking about men who have never, ever had their own place. They jump from place to place. They are mere wanderers who might become homeless and vagabonds. And then we have this new term today called hobosexual, where the man will feign a relationship with you, a romantic relationship with you, just so he can have a place to live. And these are the men that I have a problem with. And in some cases, I think it's our society too that sort of contributes to their misunderstanding. It's the woman, it's the girl in the house, whether she's the eldest sibling or she could be the youngest sibling. It's the girl who the mother puts more of the responsibility on. And sometimes you can be in a two-parent home. You can still be in a two-parent home, and the mother and sometimes the father will lay the burden of chores and work and responsibility on the young girl's back, while the son merely takes out the trash, or sometimes helps the father in the garage, but he doesn't have a sense of responsibility. I used to know a guy who I used to date in high school. And here it is. I have a job in high school. I started working much earlier, but a consistent job where I was on a co-op program in high school where I went to school half a day up to about 12. And then I got on the bus and went downtown to go work for a job in the office. And I was still in high school and I did this 11th grade and 12th grade. Okay, well, he would come see me. Um, while I was working downtown after school, and I was so enamored by that. I was so, so happy that he wanted to come see me. But it wasn't much many years later that I realized that he wasn't necessarily a worker, and that him coming to see me, as much as that made me happy, he would also ask me for money so he can get back on the bus home. And that's when I think my troubles began, when I started to get when I started to give men money, whether it was a little bit of money, because at the time the bus was just, I think, 75 cents, and that was in between 91 and 93. I graduated in 93, but I didn't catch that. There's no way I could have had the consciousness to catch something like that. But when I looked at that situation and reassessed my relationships, especially the one that lasted about 2 years and 8 months and that ended in 2016, and that forced me into a brick wall where I had to finally just begin to look at my own culpability, what was going on, why I kept attracting the wrong types of people, and why money was a factor, and why I kept giving money. And to a certain extent, I don't really know why that it is. That's something that I'm still learning. But I do understand that I was trying to answer a problem before I understood the problem. That's what that really was. I was trying to answer a problem before I understood the problem. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, that reads, "He who answers a matter um, before the time, it is folly and shame to him." So if you answer a matter, you don't know what the problem is, but you are throwing money on it. You don't know what the problem is, but you are moving him in. You don't know what the problem is, but you are buying him clothes. You don't know what the problem is, but you are telling everybody that you guys are going to get married. And he doesn't even know how to have his own place. So when you think about this question, why men believe it is okay to move into a woman's home, there is some culpability on your part that you're going to have to look at. But there also is an issue with this idea that why isn't he bothered by the idea that he's moving into a woman's home? Into her space, into her territory. That's her territory. So he's taking himself and making himself vulnerable to move into a woman's territory, to become subject to a woman. He's not going to get a job. He's not going to keep a job. Even if he gets a job, he's not going to keep it. Somehow, he's going to create a situation where he's fired or have to leave the job, or he leaves in such a fit, like a toddler. What people have deemed today a grown boy. He's in a man's body, but he still thinks like a boy. And you have to wonder about that person's upbringing, how much parenting style comes to play. You have four major types, and there are other types, but I like to only choose the four that I feel that are much more clear or helpful. The first one is authoritative. That's where the parent creates teachable moments. The parent will discipline you, but the parent will sit you down and say, "Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why you did this and what you can do better." That's authoritative. Authoritarian is something that we understand about, dictator type countries, right? It's one of those types of strategies that parents use when they say, um, to do it because I said so. They don't explain to you why they want you to do this, why it is important, why you should do better, how to improve. They just say, um, do it because I say so. Then there's the permissive parenting style, where a lot is permitted. Even if what you did was wrong. Say, for instance, you spoke badly to a teacher. Here it is. You are uh, maybe 12 years old or under, and you're cussing out the teacher. And instead of addressing the fact that you are speaking to an adult um, in that matter, let alone the cussing alone, um, the parent will turn to the teacher and blame the teacher. "My child would never do anything like this. You must have done something to my child." And so then that child learns the strategy of avoiding responsibility. of not confronting his own complicity and culpability, and then just essentially walking away as if he did nothing. And then that child is just going to continue to do exactly the same thing over and over and over with another teacher until he's punished. And so when he's finally punished by the right teacher in the right school environment, he's shocked. And then he will turn around and rebel and retaliate, be vengeful, lie, do all kinds of things until he breaks down the next system. And once they decide not to do anything with him, then it makes it easier for him to continue advancing in that kind of mindset as well. And so then that mindset, just all it does is just advances to the next level, which is your correction system, which is your homeless system, which is maybe moving from bed to bed, house to house. Because when you find someone who believes as a man that it is okay to move into a woman's house, that belief is one in which he's going to continue to use it and apply to different types of contexts, because he never learned from the very first time that he spoke out of turn and he disrespected a teacher. He never got the discipline that he was supposed to get. So then you have the last parenting style, which is uninvolved, which basically um, says it for itself, that parent is not involved in the daily matters that concern a child. The child may have an issue, but the parent does not respond in an appropriate manner. That's why you have some of these young kids who become um, serial killers or mass murder shooters, massive shooters, or whatever. They become this because the parents they tend to be uninvolved in what's going on with their child. And so when you decide to move in a man in your home, here it is. Remember that you managed to keep a job while in high school. You kept a job, or you have a job while you are out of high school. You managed to save your money to put down on a place for you to have your own apartment. You have moved into your apartment. You have furnished your apartment. You may even have a child, and you do the daily responsibilities of adulthood. So then when you move that man in, he has skipped all of those processes. There's no reason for him to go through that process because you've already gone through the process for him. And so he never learns the importance of getting a job, interviewing for a job, writing a resume, sitting down and doing the daily tasks of being an adult, clocking in, working the job, clocking out, doing the commute there and back, coming into his house, using the key to turn the door into his house, closing the door behind him, locking the door, throwing his keys on the counter, making him something to eat, uh, sitting down to eat, watching some TV, getting up to shower, going to bed, and then doing all over again. He doesn't know that process. You know that process because when you move him in, he does not go get a job. You got the job. He does not go to school. You've gone to school for him. He does not cook. He waits 8 to 10 hours for you to come home to cook. And you've been on a job 8 to 10 hours, or at least 8, with the commute being an hour each. He does not do that. All he understands is sitting on the couch. That's what he understands. And so all you're doing is making it easy for him to stay in that kind of belief system. And then the longer they stay in that kind of belief system, they get insecure, they get angry, they get mad, they retaliate against you. Because remember, that's what they were learning when they were 12 and under. And the mother that they had has allowed for that, permitted that, was uninvolved with that. So then you just become that same mother when you don't fight back or address issues or kick him out. The best punishment for him, and then that would lead to correction, is to kick him out of the home. Because as long as he can continue to do whatever he wants to do, that's exactly what's going to happen. And then what happens is the more comfortable he gets in disrespecting you by not keeping a job, the easier it becomes for him to pursue another bed. And because with men, they need to hedge their bets. They're gamblers. They are risk takers, and they're the types of people who don't want to be uncovered. And so when you act up, they know they got somewhere else to go, and they'll start befriending another woman, start love bombing her, start becoming involved with her, start having sex with her to secure the relationship, which further secures his ability to get into her house. So why men believe it is okay to move into a woman's home uh, goes back to their own belief systems about um, how the lack of, I say, let's go back, the lack of true belief system about adulthood. They don't have an understanding about adulthood. They have skipped that whole process that you have already gone through. So they believe it is okay because they don't have a belief in anything else. They don't have a belief in um, what it takes to live alone. I don't know if they even have a fear of living alone. They just don't know how, or they just don't think that it is necessary. Because as long as you allow for him to live in your home, why would he need to go get a home of his own? And again, this is not every man, so hopefully you won't take issue with this. If you are a man listening to this, if you're the type of person who has been responsible all your life, then definitely you may want to gauge the type of woman you let come live with you, who may also have never had her own apartment, never had a job, always lived off her parents, always lived with other people like sisters, cousins, always slept on other people's couches, never contributed any money when she got money, always created a situation where there was chaos, like provoking the environment, and then she leaves out of the house, slamming the door, and then she's away for a few days, and then she comes back and expects somebody to take her back in. Okay, those types of dynamics are it's the same dynamic with a man who has never um, had responsibilities, or who was never trained to be responsible. Like I said, in most family dynamics, it's the girl, it's the young girl, older or younger, it's the girl who is really prepared for life outside of that home. She's expected to have a job, she's expected to clean house, she's expected to help her mother cook, she's expected to be almost a pseudo parent. She helps the parent, and she helps all the siblings. She gathers all the kids from the nursery or the schoolhouse, and she walks them all home. Then she has to go grocery shopping for the mother, sometimes only to the corner store. Then she does all the washing and the cleaning and the ironing, and she keeps house. She's taught to keep house, and at the same time, the same way that she's taught to keep house, she's taught to be an adult at 12 years old. But you don't see the same thing with men, young boys, within that very same dynamic. And then women complain that men are are lazy and don't want to do anything. It's because of how we perceive them as young boys, and whether or not we give them the type of responsibility necessary that will prepare them to become an adult. So don't move him in. This is not to be mean or nasty or something like that, but you take away somebody's um, agency, personal agency, to be and prepare as an adult, to prepare and be as to be an adult. You take away the importance of them preparing themselves to move themselves forward. People need to really get out of their parents' house and live on their own for at least 2 to 5 years before they make any consideration of moving in a person or moving in with a person, so that you understand what um, financial responsibilities are, what emotional, mental, and psychological weight that is placed on you when you have to go out to work and take care of yourself as an adult. It's a shock value. It's a very shocking thing when you have to now leave the comforts of your parents' house to now take care of yourself. So at the end of the day, it's men who still want to be taken care of in the same way that they were when they were in their parents' home. So this is Don't Move Him In Why men believe it is okay to move into a woman's home. Visit reginawhyfavors.com as well as my online store, reginawhyfavorsauthor.com. Have a great day.